and welcome to Not Now in Theaters. This is a retro and cult film podcast, taking you back to movies we remember and why, or highlighting underseen films that could use some more love. I'm Will Turntail, a writer and film fan from California. This episode is all about Sid and Nancy. It's what you might call a rock biopic, before all the rock biopics that became more popular later. There could be some spoilers in this episode for you, and I'll point them out as they come up. Okay, let's get into the movie.
Sid Vicious is the Sex Pistols. I'm your best friend!
In Sid and Nancy, the couple shares a kiss next to a dumpster as, in semi-slow motion, trash flutters to the ground. A baby has a green mohawk, and a taxicab floats into the distance, a four-wheeled ghost. But any rock and roll fantasy melts down into a sobering portrait of far too much sex and a disastrous amount of drugs. The film centers on the intense relationship between Simon John Ritchie, better known as Sid Vicious, bass player for British punk pioneers the Sex Pistols, and his American groupie-turned-girlfriend, Nancy Spungen. The couple is infamous because of Spungen's mysterious and unsolved death, at just 20 years of age, in a room in New York's famous Chelsea Hotel. There are accusations it was Vicious who killed her, but there are also other explanations for her death, especially since Vicious was abusing so many drugs on the night that many claim he was too comatose to have done anything to her. To be clear, this podcast has no knowledge of those events and is insinuating nothing, as I have no opinion on all this. But yeah, the crux of the movie isn't how Nancy died, though the film offers its own explanation for what happened. And it's not a documentary about the band's rise to fame or a commentary on the punk music scene of the late 1970s. It's an elegant cautionary tale, an anti-drug statement of young and destructive beings like two black holes whose dooming gravity neither could escape. While disappointing at the box offices, Sid and Nancy's unorthodox cinematic style received much critical praise, and the film has been given Criterion releases. Take a look at its creators, and you'll understand more about why. It was the second punk rock subject film by the movement's observer Alex Cox. The legendary Sir Roger Deakins provided the cinematography, and none other than a young Gary Oldman played Sid Vicious. That's a lot of talent, but is Sid and Nancy a good movie? Let's find out. The plot of Sid and Nancy. So after exploding into popularity in England, punk rockers the Sex Pistols head out for a United States tour. The band is annoyed because their erratic bass player Sid Vicious wants to bring his troublemaking girlfriend Nancy Spungen out on the tour. Sid and Nancy's drug troubles and codependency become more of a distraction to the band, especially lead singer John Lydon, also known as Johnny Rotten. The movie continues well past the tour and into the fallout from it, and as Sid and Nancy slip deeper into drug addiction, they look for a way to crawl out of it. And to walk you through the cast, Sid Vicious is played by the one and only Gary Oldman. Nancy Spungen is played by Chloe Webb. Johnny Rotten is played by Andrew Schofield. And you can read the rest of the main cast here in the transcript. So what's good in Sid and Nancy? Well, the first thing I appreciated is that it is underplayed, which is worth 2 points. The film never gets heavy-handed. It doesn't take a detached, documentary-style perspective, but portrays its events and characters in a plainer light. When it comes to Sid and Nancy's love story, the musical cues are subtle. Dialogue stays away from moments of flat, I love yous. Sid will tear a hole in Nancy's stocking and kiss her feet, or revel in the chain and lock she gifts him around his neck. And a fun fact about that, Sid's mother gave Oldman the real-life chain to wear in the film. When the movie takes us to the Sex Pistols concerts or practice sessions, it gets urban and raw. Those pieces unfold like a chronicle of a movement of mayhem and raw energy that had nowhere else to go, firing itself off in many indiscriminate directions. Before and during their fame, Sex Pistols members and friends spray paint red letters across the walls or loot through discarded belongings on the sidewalk. But there's the balance where none of this is glorified nor downplayed. No message implying punk attitudes are what people should or should not have. That in and of itself captures what many think is the true spirit of punk, making people think. So in this understated storytelling style, the movie shows you some things rather than cramming them down your throat. Next, as you would expect, Sir Roger Deakins delivers, and that adds 2 points. Sir Roger Deakins and crew give us some masterful camera shots. In particular, you can't forget the striking cinematics of the tracking shot when Sid and Nancy get off the boat. As the Sex Pistols play a rowdy concert on a ship on the water, the police arrive to shut them down. When the boat lands, a scuffle breaks out. As the cops fight against the punks, Sid and Nancy, arm in arm and seemingly untouchable, walk through the chaos. The camera gracefully moves back, and back up the dock's ramp, I think moving on a long dolly track. The sound fades from the fighting with the police into Joe Strummer's soundtrack. And without a word, the shot shows us Sid and Nancy are like the king and queen of this crazy world. And then there's the hotel fire scene. Nancy flicks a cigarette into this big trash littering their hotel room because they're just trashy like that, igniting a blaze. But the couple just lay dreamily in bed, unalarmed. So Nancy's just staring at the flames. Things slow down and get hazy when the fire department rushes in to stop it, and we see how dangerous and out of hand their life has become. And if you want to see some of these iconic scenes, there's a link at the bottom of this transcript to a compilation of them on YouTube. I would highly recommend that if you're not going to watch this film, especially. Next up, it's the movie's surreal stuff, which adds 2 points. Though grounded in a narrative reality, the film floats in and out of fantasy. There's the surreal moment when Sid, no longer part of the Sex Pistols, performs a cover of My Way, solo in a theater. This version sung by Oldman. The lights behind him on the steps are white and vibrant. Vicious slurs his words, offering no apology for his actions. But what makes it all the weirder is the approval of many well-dressed older patrons who toss flowers at the stage. And as if suddenly giving up on the performance, Vicious pulls out a pistol, shooting people in the crowd, fake blood spraying. Though this did happen in the real-life version when Sid Vicious did it. And there is Nancy, blood-spattered, walking up on the stage to embrace him. Once again, they are the king and queen, untouchable in the space of chaos. And then a spoiler alert here as I'm about to give away the ending. So if you don't want to hear that, use the chapter skip. Still here? Okay. So the ending becomes entirely figurative. We're not sure whether this is Sid in a drug dream or stepping into the afterlife. He enjoys a last meal at a pizza joint, but has to walk over heaps of debris to reach it, as if it's by the world's end. He dances with little children to disco. Then from nowhere, his dead love Nancy, wearing what could be a wedding dress, rolls up in a taxicab. He joins her, and off they float into the distance as the taxicab rises into the sky. It's an intelligent way to end the movie. Depicting the truth of what happened in the wake of Nancy's death would have cast a dark shadow. Sid overdosed to death before he faced trial, if you're unaware. So this fever dream lets the story fade out to a little pieces of happiness, that for a time they were together, and that's all that mattered to them. Next, we have to highlight Oldman and Webb's performances in the title roles, and that will add 4 points. Since he's Sid Vicious, not viscous, Gary Oldman ate nothing but steamed fish and lots of melons to cut the rocker's squirmy figure. A decision that hospitalized Oldman. Talk about suffering for your art. What's funny is that Gary Oldman didn't believe he portrayed Vicious very well, but it seems like he's the only one who thinks that, and maybe he's just too hard on himself like a lot of us. I don't know. Critics hailed his performance, and a lot of the critics thought the only reason he didn't get Academy Award nominations is because he played such an unlikable character. It's said his performance of Vicious is like a man-child overwhelmed with his sudden fame, and I think that's accurate. Whether he's dragging a razor blade lightly across his chest or drawing blood, or barely cognizant on stage, you do feel pity for this kid. He's less angry and provocative than sad and misguided. With Oldman's talent, Sid's emotions are all under the surface, but brought to life through his mannerisms and expressions. Chloe Webb finds the ear-screeching pitch to craft an abrasive Nancy, always in Sid's ear as much as she is by his side. You can tell why other characters speak out against her, yet you feel from her tenderness to Sid why he would feel different. And I think that dichotomy is hard to execute, but she does it well. And Oldman and Webb have definite chemistry, which peaks in the climactic scene leading to Nancy's death, which I think we should talk about. So director Alex Cox let the actors improvise their dialogue for the scene. Oldman and Webb based it on as many pieces of interviews they could find to give them clues about the couple's conflicts. The scene is moving and challenging to watch. Sid and Nancy are at their breaking points from drugs and despondency. They argue and crash together in a moment that I'll just say stops both their lives. So there was one thing I thought really could have been improved about Sid and Nancy though, and I think it's the fact that the movie shows the fall without the rise, the peaches without the cream, if that makes sense. Peaches are kind of good on their own, but I think you get what I mean. This is going to remove 4 points. Though the rise of the Sex Pistols isn't the movie's focal point, I wish we saw more of it in the film. We see concert performances, but the band's success is second billing. Sid has bits of humanity, as we know he wants to, but can't pull himself out of his addictions. There are also a few bits of humor. One scene that cracked me up was when Sid tries to wash dishes and clean up the apartment while donning a leopard-printed man thong. His argument with Nancy takes his barely covered butt out to the open street for the neighbors to laugh at. But the film needs more levity. It is a tricky line to walk, as the movie didn't want to glorify drug use or a rock star persona. But watching so many hotel rooms strewn about with buckets of old KFC chicken or Whopper Jr. wrappers while sweaty all-white younglings stare in a drug-induced haze is, incredibly morose. More lightheartedness to balance this out would improve the film's watchability. And I think you could get that without ruining its drugs are pretty fucking bad messaging. So adding everything up, Sid and Nancy shoots up 6 points. On my scale of let's not watch, should I watch or go watch this movie, that will land it in the should I watch rating, where some of you may be into it, some of you not as much. Despite Alex Cox's unique film direction, I have mixed feelings about my time with Sid and Nancy. I found a film about two lovers falling tragically to drugs repetitive at times and flat out hard to watch at others, though that's harsh as that's the game here. The movie had to balance not romanticizing its subject, yet not depressing you with its reality. But this movie has a dark beauty, and its unexpected surrealism is captivating. There are scenes the mind will hang on to, and the strong performances of Gary Oldman and Chloe Webb hold everything together. The picture didn't hand out neat little dramatic arcs and nicely bring them all to sappy conclusions. The film is, almost in that punk rock spirit, content to do whatever it pleases. That's a trick few movies can manage, and that fuck it, let's make the movie attitude has won this film lots of fans. It's certainly a movie that feels authentic to director Alex Cox's vision, and that's why I think it does deserve a solid audience. So if you want to see a beautiful destruction, give it a go. The Legacy of Sid and Nancy. So what is the legacy of Sid and Nancy? Well, I can't draw a direct line between them, but I have a hunch that shows like VH1's Behind the Music and other rock documentaries and movies have to have been influenced by the raw portrayal of drug dependency in this film. Sid Vicious and Nancy Spungen have long been cult figures in their own right, especially with the couple's dual deaths. And this movie too is considered a classic cult film, a moniker of punk and counterculture. Plenty a young person has had a poster for it on their wall, no doubt. Though director Alex Cox had a bit of a reputation before the film, his critical success with this movie brought him more recognition. And though Repo Man already tossed him into the punk scene, here was a second film all about punk culture, bringing him even closer. The real-life Johnny Rotten, John Lydon, famously hated the movie and has claimed that it misrepresented Sid and Nancy's relationship. He also believes it didn't highlight the importance of the Sex Pistols to music history, nor what the band was really all about. He said in his autobiography, Rotten, No Irish, No Blacks, No Dogs, that Alex Cox did not speak to him and took his information from Joe Strummer of The Clash. He also says the film is littered with many inaccuracies, like getting his accent wrong. Cox has countered this in his 2008 autobiography, claiming that they had a 90-minute discussion over the script and who should play Mr. Rotten and other details about the project. It is Cox's claim that they were drinking during the meeting, which explains why Lydon doesn't remember it. Cox also says actor Andrew Schofield, who played Johnny Rotten, also met with Lydon. And to be clear, this is all allegedly. I certainly wasn't there, and I'm not saying who is or is not right here. I'm only saying what's been said about it. Legendary cinematographer Sir Roger Deakins from this movie, of course, has gone on to have quite the career and is likely a figure you know. But if you don't, he has 5 BAFTA awards for Best Cinematographer, 2 Academy Awards for Best Cinematography, and a whopping 16 nominations total. He's worked with Sam Mendes, the Coen brothers, and Denis Villeneuve, for starters. His films include The Shawshank Redemption, The Big Lebowski, A Beautiful Mind, No Country for Old Men, Sicario, 1917, and even more heavy hitters. Young Gary Oldman's performance, as you'd expect, stood out. No doubt this is, in part, what helped him go on to have such a varied and respected career so far. You probably know the man, but if you don't, Mr. Oldman has been in films such as The Dark Knight, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, Leon the Professional, and The Fifth Element. Chloe Webb, who played Nancy, would also go on to have a long career. As far as I can tell, she's been active up until 2020, and she's appeared in films like Twins, Ghostbusters 2, The Newton Boys, and Practical Magic. She's also appeared, as far as TV goes, on Remington Steele, 2.5 Men, and CSI, among others. Strangely, IMDb's trivia page for the film says that Gary Oldman actually doesn't like punk music at all and didn't like the script. He only did this movie for the paycheck of £35,000. Well, maybe that explains more of why he wasn't so happy with his portrayal of Sid Vicious. And quoting directly from IMDb's trivia page here, Alex Cox and cinematographer Roger Deakins wanted to shoot the film in stark black and white, fitting the bleak tone. Unsurprisingly, the people financing the movie nixed that idea as too artsy and potentially off-putting to audiences. Instead, Deakins shot in color, but designed it so the images became increasingly monochromatic as the film goes on, so that by the end of the film is practically gray. Man, I would have loved to have seen the black and white version. But it is cool how Deakins was able to use the color scheme to warp the perception of the film, the mood of it, as it goes on. It is also said on IMDb that extras for the film were pulled from real-life punks, and one of the things punks like to do is spit on performers who they enjoy. So the cast were getting annoyed at constantly being spit on for the concert scenes, but Alex Cox let it go because he wanted it to be real. And you know what's funny? Alex Cox's second choice to play Sid Vicious was Daniel Day-Lewis. So between Gary Oldman and Daniel Day-Lewis, wow, Alex Cox had some taste in what young actors to go with, considering he had arguably 2 of the best male actors of all time in mind. Well, that's all I got. Thank you so much for listening. And if you want more Alex Cox films, check out episode 3 of this podcast about his 80s cult punk rock movie, sci-fi movie, Repo Man. If you are not already subscribed to this podcast, please do wherever you're listening from. New episodes usually come out weekly. This podcast episode is production copyright of Overegged Media LLC, located in Sacramento, California. Reference photos linked in the transcript are copyrighted by the Internet Movie Database. This review's factual information was gathered through online sources like Wikipedia, IMDb, or interviews. Misrepresentations and errors are possible, but unintentional. The introduction music was Neon Laser Horizon by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. It was licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. And the exit music and additional music are also by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. The names of those tracks are Pump, Delay Rock, I Feel You, and Proto Funk. See you next time.